clean, affordable, sustainable energy for our country and for the world. That, I believe, is a goal. That is the sort of Manhattan Project we ought to be having as a country, and that not only will free our country, but it will free the rest of the world from the hazards that we face now by what we do. So I see this as a win for business by developing those technologies, and most importantly, as a win for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren as part of the stewardship we face of this earth that we treasure and that we need to be working harder to leave better for future generations. So that said, I want to thank you very much, and I look forward to the questions.
Well, Andy, I'm going to pass it to you. I think if you talk too close, it gets boomy. Do you have the levels straight back here?
I got control.
Good.
We have control. Don't touch the
Sean is in control. Good evening, one and all. Thank you for giving Elizabeth and I the opportunity to appear side by side. There's no greater service that you can provide to voters than the chance for them to hear directly from the candidates, unfiltered by the media, and with your own eyes and your own ears, hear what we have to say. The first thing I want to say is congratulations to Lori, whose classroom I've had the pleasure of visiting, whose trails I've had the pleasure of walking, and I would commend any of you that haven't had that pleasure. You're in for the thrill of a lifetime. Go up to Skip Mountain on a fall day, and if Lori will take you around, you'll learn a whole lot about the birds of Northwest Texas. So Lori, thank you. If you're hungry after the hike, stop by Sam and Susan's orchard and nourish yourself, not just with the best apples on the planet, but some pretty amazing peaches too. So thank you for carrying on your family's proud tradition and for your commitment to this community and our state. And lastly, to the Lake Roraback Task Force, the truth of the matter is, I didn't have much to do with the Invasive Plants Council or the law prohibiting the gratuitous use of phosphorus. Neither of those laws would be on the books without Tom McGowan's ideas, his focus, and his ability to pick up the phone and call me. and what I've learned as a state legislator is good things happen, not necessarily because of us. Good things happen because of all of you and the work that you do in the trenches, day in and day out. So Tom, thanks for prodding me along to do the right thing. Your ideas have always gotten traction because they've been great ideas. You said 11 other states ban the gratuitous use of phosphorus. Where is Connecticut on this issue? And your arguments are compelling, and the legislature responded, not so much to me, but to you. So thank you. I was a little late getting here this evening because I'm still a state senator. You're going to be stuck with me as your state senator till January. And we had a bond commission meeting in Hartford this afternoon, and as the ranking member of the Finance Committee, it's my responsibility to participate in bond commission meetings. So I come here with good news, and that's we today approved the release of another $5 million to the state of Connecticut's Farmland Preservation Program. The news is it's been earmarked to Julie Bailey to spend as she sees fit, particularly along the ridge in New Milford, where we have one of the largest tracts of unfragmented prime farmland in Connecticut. And we're going to preserve it, Julie, not because of us, but because of you. It's hard for me to know where to begin because for 18 years you've given me the privilege of working with you day in and day out. And when I look around this room, there are very few people that I haven't had the privilege of undertaking a particular project with in your community to work together as partners to get things done on the ground. And so my campaign speech has been pretty simple. Boring maybe, but simple. What I've done is what I'll do. Who I am is who I'll be. And now I want to be a partner with you to bring the resources of the federal government to bear on improving environmental quality in Northwest Connecticut. That's my mission. Now, I'm the first to admit, my party could use a dose of its origins. Teddy Roosevelt is the person who brought us our national park system. And whatever you might think about Richard Nixon, he did start the Environmental Protection Agency. And I think what Connecticut needs, what our country needs, is a strong environmentalist in the heart of the Republican caucus to remind them why investments in preserving our clean air, our clean water, our landscapes, are investments that we have no choice but to make. I want to work with Larry on a forest legacy project, whether it's Thorpe Mountain. We've already taken care of Star, we already took care of the child's property, Skip Mountain we took care of, but the list is long. There are a lot of things that the federal government can help us accomplish here in Northwest Connecticut, and I want to be a champion for the work that all of you do. So my job has been pretty easy. My job has been to support good things and oppose bad things. And that's what I'm intent on doing as a member of Congress. So, let me try to answer the questions that were posed to us. What is your background or experience relating to conservation, farming, and environmental issues? Well, my first job was shoveling up the cow barn at the Goshen Fair, which was quite a job to have when you were 14 years old, but it paid well. It was a weekend gig, and I definitely bonded with the dairy community of Litchfield County through that experience. But since then, I've gotten to know by name most of the dairy farmers in this part of Connecticut, and they've been on some pretty tough times of late because of the demise of the New England Dairy Compact. And it's my hope we can resurrect the Dairy Compact and bring stability and peace of mind to family farmers who've been at this for many generations. And they know also where to find me. And they know that no issue is more important to me than their continued viability. Conservation is something, the best part of the word conservative is conserve. And what we as conservatives should recognize, and I think all of you are conservatives, to the extent that you recognize that conserving, that wise use of resources is responsible behavior that the government should try to incentivize. And I've always tried to be a partner in initiatives which reward good behavior and which punish bad behavior. Do you believe climate change is a problem that merits federal actions sooner than later? If so, what measures or legislative initiatives would you support or introduce? I'm the chairman of the Regulation Review Committee in Hartford, and I was proud, I believe I presided when the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative was adopted by Connecticut, which knit together several New England states and states like New Jersey and Pennsylvania to make a common commitment to reducing our regional greenhouse gas emissions. And the great news is the proceeds from the auctions have been reinvested in conservation initiatives. So we've been winners twice. We've been winners through the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and through the reinvestment in energy efficiency initiatives, both in residences and in businesses. And everyone knows generation avoidance is one of the smartest things we can do. Energy that doesn't need to be produced, it's measuring a negative. But if we reduce our demand, we don't need as many power plants. And so it's less expensive for us to engage in a concerted effort to reduce our demand than to be engaged in a relentless pursuit to generate more energy. We're blessed to have available to us sufficient resources to power our economic recovery. I will I think that we all have to also celebrate the fact that carbon emissions are at a 20-year low in this country. And they're at a 20-year low because natural gas has become so much more readily available and so much less expensive than it has been historically. This state needs to make a concerted effort to expand the distribution of natural gas. How many, I don't know if anyone in Wichita County has a natural gas line in their street, maybe in Torrington, but Larry, you have one in Torrington? Yeah. But in other places, if we want propane, it has to come on a truck. And that is not a very efficient use, so it's hard to rely on that for your energy needs. So I think that the answer for a federal constructive approach to climate change is going to necessitate that Republicans and Democrats get together. Now, understand that the current president had a majority in the US Senate and a majority in the United States House of Representatives for the first 2 years of his term. And he was unable to pass a comprehensive energy plan. He was unable to enact any legislation that took a real bite out of climate change. And I think the way to get it done is to have members of the Republican caucus who are committed to working with members of the Democratic caucus to come up with solutions. Because I've always been about solutions. I've never been about towing the party line. And I have an 18-year record to back it up. So I will have the courage to be independent when being independent matters to all of you. Because the only people whose approval I will seek is your approval. And the only people whose approval I ever sought is the people who entrust me with the responsibility of being their voice in government. 4, which national energy initiatives would you champion in the House? Natural gas, question mark, clean coal, question mark, wind, question mark, solar, question mark, or other, question mark.
Would.
Should the government provide subsidies similar to the oil companies, or should the marketplace decide? What we collectively need to commit ourselves to is making sure that government is a catalyst to advancing the best possible science so that renewable sources of energy can be competitive in the marketplace. I think we should invest more heavily in research by federal agencies and rely less on help to companies like Solyndra. The Solyndra phenomenon set back responsible energy policy because of the transparency of the nexus between, it was crony capitalism. In my opinion, the worst kind of crony capitalism. I would rather commit our resources to a federal science plan to help develop the technologies that can then be unleashed in the private sector to benefit all of us. So my commitment is to continue the work I've done in the state legislature, where I've been a strong proponent of the renewable energy portfolio that we are committed to achieving. And I think Connecticut's work is a good model for us to try to emulate in Washington. Connecticut's ahead of Washington. And that's due in no small measure to the work that's been done by my opponent's husband, and I credit him with some great work in the energy field. And so with that, we all want to get home and see the debate. I've gone on too long, but I mean, I think for both Elizabeth and I, there's no greater gift than the gift of your attention. We're running for office, and to have a captive audience, we would stay here all night, as long as you would listen, but we know you don't want to stay here all night, so thank you.
We're staying pretty well on the schedule here. We'd like to end by about 10 after 8, so